you spoke a lot about the junior market, and you've previously also mentioned that you expect next year, so 2022, to be the year of explorers because of decades long underinvestment in uranium exploration, I guess. So do you still believe next year to be the year where we see strong returns in explorers, or has your opinion somewhat changed?
I think we will see strong returns depending on what you characterize as strong returns. Too many people in the narrative now are expecting that they're going to see 10 baggers. I think you're going to see 3 baggers. Now, I personally believe that a 3 bagger over 5 years, 35% compound internal rate of return, something like that, particularly given that it's a probability, not a possibility, is a good thing.
It is, but you're not going to get the attention of people with crypto and NFTs and a picture of a tulip going
I don't care.
5 million.
I'm not trying to get anybody's attention. I couldn't care less. I'm looking to allocate, a reasonable bit of my own money and a bigger bit of client money. And I'm looking at getting 35 to 40% compound internal rates of return over 3 to 5 years. Mm-hmm. That seems pretty good to me. Somebody who understands crypto might do better. I don't. I don't invest in things that I don't understand, where I don't understand the value proposition. The arithmetic around uranium demand is not an algorithm. It is simply the fact that when people walk into a room and flip the switch, they want the light to go on. I can understand that, Antonio. And the consequence of that truth and the fact that when I run net present value calculations on some decent companies at $60 or $70 yellow cake, I see probable triples is good enough for me. The fact that there's a broad part of the internet audience that would prefer to be lied to, that's okay. Somebody else will lie to them. I'm comfortable with that. I think it'll happen.
Yeah. No, that's very, very well said, and I like that. And you and I have discussed individual uranium stocks previously. You've given me your opinion on them, on multiple uranium stocks, multiple times. But with all the bullishness around us, where again, there's people out there calling for $200, $800, heck, even $1,000 uranium. Mm-hmm. I'm pointing to myself because I made somewhat of a clickbaity video where I explored the potential for uranium going to $1,200 a pound, but with all that bullishness in uranium, if the physical commodity goes up in price that many times, like 5, 6, 7, 10 times, what I'm wondering is whether it even matters which uranium stocks I own. I mean, surely all of them would go up if that happens, right?
It matters to me a lot because my life is around probabilities. When people say if uranium goes to $200. If that happens, all of my thesis about the fact that it has to go up gets replaced by a new thesis that says it has to go down. $200, you would have an incredible rush of restarts. And you would also do a much better job than you do now extracting, as an example, uranium byproduct from phosphate mining. The supply rush that you'd see sooner rather than later, you would replace a situation in my mind where the price had to go up with a new scenario where the price had to go down. And despite the fact that momentum, which is to say a rush of greater fools, can cause stocks to go from very overvalued to insanely overvalued, the idea that I would be interested in playing that momentum brings us back to fear of missing out, which is to say, deciding that you can be stupid because other people are even dumber than you are. I don't like to characterize myself as being the lead pig in a dumb race.
So you don't think it's enough to just buy the smaller market caps, sit tight, and make that?
It depends on the smaller market caps. If you're talking about a $30 million market cap with a deposit that's going to require $100 uranium that is in a location that means it isn't going to get built in this market cycle, that has a $3 million working capital deficit, and has a board of directors that's a butcher, a baker, and a candlestick maker, in effect, you're paying a $20 million market cap for nothing. That people say, what's a $20 million market cap? Well, people who believe that should send me a check. I don't like paying $20 million for nothing. I'd rather pay my proportional share of $6 or $7 billion for something. It is true that in every market cycle, in every sector, there is somebody who is lucky, courageous, and dumb that makes an awful lot of money. And people personalize that because they can identify with being greedy and dumb, at least. And so they identify with the person who was aggressive, greedy, and dumb. But the probability of success associated with exemplifying those three negative traits is very low.
Okay, thank you for reminding me about that. Thank you for reminding me about building your life around probabilities. That makes a lot of sense. And I usually go to in those long talks myself, but I'm respectful, or at least I'm trying to be respectful of your time here. And I'm also trying to juggle my questions and the point to talk to your points with the questions of the viewers that they've sent it. So I guess I'll probably be lynched if I didn't talk about the elephant in this uranium room, which is the Sprott physical trust. And I guess here's a pretty blunt and a simple question, yet important nonetheless. Do you think that what we saw from Sprott last week, that aggressive buying, do you think that was the trigger that will go down in the history books as the spark that started the fire?
It depends on how you view history. The real spark will happen if they list in the U.S. next year. Their Canadian at the market mechanism monetizes the very small volume that is the Canadian domestic market and those American family offices who feel comfortable trading in Canada. If they're able to list on the New York Stock Exchange, then Sprott will be able to talk to the 280,000 existing investors in their precious metals trusts about the uranium story.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is, and I don't want to put too much fuel in the fire, but with regards to the trust and its ability to raise money and buy uranium, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Nice.
I should tell you this, Antonio, and you're invited. We're putting together a one-day webinar on uranium. We don't have the details done yet, but I would invite your audience, if they have interest. We'll try and have 8 or 10 companies involved that we can buy with a straight face. And we'll dissect as best we can the uranium market and the Sprott Physical Uranium Trust. There is so much hyperbole around uranium on the web in particular, and so much of it is directed at Sprott and influences Sprott, that what I wanted to do is get my own point of view out there in detailed form, and get Sprott's point of view out there, which is maybe different than mine.